For reference, this is 1 yellow belt of coke. Because 4 is 3.5 for the calcinets, and then another 1.5 for the lime to feed the 4 calcinets. So each of these is 5. I need to do that and provide it power. Oh, great. Let's do this way, then. Oh, joy. Yeah, this will be a lot of undergrounds. How do I have an odd number again? I apparently have an odd number again on my undergrounds. It's not the first time. That is the spacing. Yes. Yes. Good. Ah, dee da, going all the way up. I don't need to use that many undergrounds, but I'm doing it anyway. Take all of this. Like, seriously, take all of this away. Yes, no, I'm referring to the underground, to the underground belt, not the pipe. I'm wondering how I have an odd number of the underground belt. I know why I have the odd number of the underground pipes. It is because of the stone water wells, but the underground belts, well, that's another matter entirely. That is another matter entirely. So, yeah, there's acetylene happening. I need to grab more pipe. Much more pipe. Here is my pipe. Oh, I also have lamps. I have lamps now. That's another thing I have. Lamps. Gotta have lamps. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that one underground. It's somewhere. It's somewhere doing something. Somewhere there is an unpaired underground, and I was thinking it might be around here somewhere in this mess of things. Somewhere. Or maybe in this mess of things. I don't see anything unpaired. Most all of it looks paired to me. Yes, this is very, very idiotic in how it looks, but it's how I did it. It's how I did it. Yeah, one to 2-ish is fine on here. This is just my initial scaling. I don't have enough glass, by the way. If I was actually consuming all of that stuff that I'm making that uses the glass, including the glorious randomized sprites on glassware, cough cough, I wouldn't actually have enough glass because it would end up consuming like at least 6 per second on glass, 6, 7, 8. I'm producing not that much. And also in terms of randomized sprites, let's head back towards here, wood production. So wood is made in the fastwood forestries now for the logs step, and then that gets processed into wood. You need seedlings to grow trees to make logs. So the seedlings and the logs have randomized sprites. It's glorious. Glorious, beautiful sprites. Although it appears as if I have a semi-sufficient amount of wood for the moment. This is like 2 point something per second of wood, somewhere along those lines. It can consume 4 botanical nurseries of production of the seedlings. This is 0.6 per second of the seedlings, and then this consumes 0.6 seedlings per second if all operating fully. And it produces enough logs to feed 5 wood processing units. That I don't remember that number off the top of my head precisely. Also, lots of moss feeds seedlings. For some reason, seedlings need moss in order to properly grow. Just for some reason. And of course, they need seeds. I mean, of course you need seeds to make seedlings, right? So it's wood into seeds, into seedlings, into logs, into wood. That's your wood chain. And then you also need to add moss, which is going to consume CO2. Which is going to consume CO2. And while I can officially start making CO2 through biomass, right now, I would have to first make biomass from phytoplankton, and at this point, it basically just is a shifting of resources because phytoplankton is iron. So sure, I can make CO2 out of biomass, but my biomass would instead of spending coke to get CO2, I would be spending iron to get CO2. I mean, what's the point? What's the point of shifting to iron to make CO2 out of biomass? There really isn't. No, instead I will wait till green science, because at green science is when you can convert logs to biomass, and that is more productive use of time. That is a much better use of time. Okay, I need to actually hook these pipes up now. Determine where I'm going to get the acetylene down as well. Probably from over here. Oh, these are not good places. Oh, there. I did it over here. That's why. Okay. I have done this logistics work. Okay. Probably here-ish. Then it's just the one line all the way up to the acetylene, and then I'll have both lead and titanium. And just bring this over. I guess I should ask folks, have like some sort of poll in the chat. Do you want me to run at 2x game speed for the amount of time that I can run at 2x game speed? Because eventually there'll be so much stuff that the game literally won't be capable of running at 2x. But should I run at 2x? Last stream sort of had a chat with Immortal Sniper about that, how I wasn't quite keen on doing 2x, but I think for sanity's sake, we need to play at 2x. Maybe. If we want to actually truly see a lot of the things added in Pi Alien Life, we may have to play on 2x speed. Oh, the Lazy Man's Belt Balancer, just for reference. That's all this is. This is this is the lazy man's 3-to-1 belt balancer. Just throw it into a storage chest and then output 1. 3 in, 1 out. In case you didn't know about this mechanic, if you're using loaders in particular, you can just completely avoid having to do belt balancing. Yes, loader-based balancer. Okay, and all these are operating, and we've got non-zero amounts of titanium moving! Yay! It's moving! I need, like, infinite amounts of all of these things to actually progress from here. Because a lot of the things that I need they're going to require titanium and lead. Oh, by the way, I could now actually set up Faugi, and the recipe for Faugi to coal totally still exists, by the way. And Faugi, the only things that have been added to make it a little bit more complicated now is that you now need a spore collector to collect spores, and that's just power. It's like just add spore collectors to feed Faugi, and they just need power. Like, okay. And then it's spores. There's a recipe that's just spores for the Faugi now. You don't even need to add water to them to get the mushrooms anymore. But there is still the recipe that is now spores plus water, and a whole bunch of other recipes to increase the output even further. So now it's just place a spore collector setup with a mushroom setup, and you've got coal based on mushrooms. The days of free power are gone. I would say probably not. I still need to do the math of how much power these spore collectors use versus the output of the coal from the Faugi plantations, but my guess is that you still can get power from mushrooms relatively easily. Speaking of power, this is my new setup for power generation. Just some natural gas going into a few oil burners. These are not cheap. For reference, these are not cheap in the slightest. These are not cheap. I have no idea about power from logs. I will have to check and see. Alright, so here goes titanium. Now the obvious amazing thing that the titanium provides, the great fantastical thing that the titanium provides, is access to burners. That is the number one most important thing that the titanium provides, is access to burners. The lead provides access to tanks. That's the big thing that you get out of the lead is tanks. However, now we have access to more of the other buildings. If I actually had stuff and things. I'm apparently also going to need nexelit as part of this at some point. I think. Let's see, I need things, yes. Copper and wires. Uh-oh. That's not good. I think I need more copper. I may or may not need a bit more copper. That's easy enough, by the way. I got the space and the miners already in existence to add more copper. Ooh, hello. Right, I can now start mining for biosamples at this point. That I could also do. I can make the collectors for the biosamples. I'll go ahead and do that, because that will be required. Absolutely required. What else is absolutely required? Vrauk. Where are the Vrauk paddock? Plastic! Okay. Plastic. Biofactory, nexelit. Panadon's like, you're welcome. Okay. Okay. I have access to the burners now, which is key for this. So, what this is going to require at this phase of the game, in order to actually get this aromatics and syngas, I've got choices. I actually do have several choices right now. I can try to get chromium. That is something I can try to do. I could try to get chromium to mine tar. That's one thing we can immediately start doing. We can also start looking at some nexelit. We can get nexelit. That will allow for the conversion of natural gas into syngas, which is decent in the early game if you have non-zero amounts of nexelit. Now that will require getting tailings. Because I now have access to burners, I have essentially access to an infinite supply of tailings as long as I have power. And that would give me nexelit, that would give me syngas. There is also stone into tar. Yes, stone into tar into coal gas. I don't know if that's unlocked yet. It is. So yes, we could do this recipe as well. That would give tailings for the nexelit as well as tar for the coal gas and syngas. I would just have to deal with the coarse fraction and the tailings dust, which at this point, tailings dust, I could make copper out of it. I could make coal dust, rich dust, but I would just end up destroying it, demolishing it, and then coarse fraction. I could process that too, but I don't see too much of a point. I could cycle back some of the stone, but I've got stone. I've got a stone patch here that I could actually keep expanding. This is being made into a half belt of bricks as well as stone. So I think I will set all of that up next. That is by necessity, I think, going to have to be the very next thing set up. Because I do now need access to nexelit and to chromium. I do have a ton of tar that I can mine. The issue is that I first need to get chromium to mine that tar. And if I want to get the syngas to mine the chromium, I either have to I either have to get the syngas through the coke to coal gas and tar into more coal gas into syngas, which is a more traditional method, or I can do this stone to tar and tailings and also get some nexelit out of it that can feed some of these other buildings that I know I'm going to need nexelit for anyway, like the biofactory. I'm going to need biofactories, which is going to need nexelit anyway, so I may as well just do this way. However, it is a little bit early, but I think I do need to take a very brief break at this point. Get up, stretch the legs, all that stuff. I will be back in about 3 minutes where we will begin working on all of this stuff. And I have returned. Welcome back. So, let's do the tar from stone recipe, which is somewhere here. Tar from stone, needs some water. 1 is very much enough for the moment. 1 is absolutely enough for the moment. I will need evaporators, won't I? Yes, I will need evaporators. I will need these. Steel. Steel. And more titanium. Hello, titanium. Welcome to the party. Glorious titanium. You know, just a few burners are required. And apparently some stone. Yeah. Alright. I think that will be somewhat sufficient. Somewhat sufficient. Now, again, while I could stack the tailings dust and the coarse fraction, the mod load order means that the void recipes do not take into account the stacked tailings dust and coarse fractions, so I cannot void stacked tailings dust. I cannot void, there's no void recipe, the stacked tailings dust or the stacked coarse fraction. I can void stacked stone, because that's a vanilla product, and that stacking recipe gets added before the script that does the void, that adds the void recipes, but not for the stacking of the Pyendon's mods items. It's just rather unfortunate that that is the case, that the stacking, or that the voiding recipes don't happen like dead last in how the game loads these scripts, but yep, that's just a thing to make note of. I'd basically have to add a separate voiding mod, basically, that would have like a whole bunch of stuff as dependencies. King's saying fine, he'll fix it. Okay. I mean, I guess if it is a thing that you can move that so that it loads after, that would make it work, but it's just because the Pyendon's stacking mod or deadlocks has a dependency of the Py suite. It depends on the Py suite, so it loads after the Py suite. But I'm guessing when you do the script, when the script is run to make the voiding recipes, is earlier in the sequence. And I'm thinking that there is probably a way to make it load later, but I could also just add a separate mod that depends on both, so that it loads that voiding script after both of them. There's lots of ways of doing things. Lots and lots of ways of doing things. When it comes to code. So basically, I'm just gonna do this and just, you know, load into this. Say hello to beautiful tar, as well as tailing dust and coarse fraction and tailings. Yes, glorious, beautiful things. I need the evaporator. Oh, hello. The evaporator to make the nexelit. And then it's a washer to then clean said nexelit. And then... Oh, I don't... You. I need two of you. I need... Ah! Game! Performance! Thingies! Stuffs, things. Give me one of those too. How about lamps? Lamps are cool. Let's add some lamps that are in my inventory. Let's add some lamps while I'm here. While I'm waiting on handcrafting to happen. Let's actually be able to see in darkness. I like seeing in darkness. Seeing in darkness is very... It's a good thing. Glorious thing. Must see in darkness. Also, all this wonderful latex going in, it's nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough on the latex. It will start backing up once this thing fills. Speaking of which, these rubber stoppers. These operate in a 5-to-4 ratio going into the glassware. This is close enough for my purposes, but just know that the actual ratio here is 5-to-4. And it is not as simple as doing, like, expanding this out 4, 3, 5, and 4. No, it's not that simple, sadly. But this is close enough for me. 5-4 is the ratio. Okay, next. Next is you. You get to make glorious nexelit out of clean. And you need hot air. I do not feel like bringing hot air all the way over. So what I will do is just set up a regenerative heat exchanger. It will basically load directly into the thingy. This will require also some of this. Probably just like the one, but also plan ahead, please. Always, always plan ahead, just in case. You know, just in case. Always plan ahead. Then you there. Da, da. You make that. Take those. Have power. Liz. Da-da! Alright, you... One of these does 400, one of these is 50. So, this is fine. This will work. Just need, you know, tailings. Just add tailings. And then kill all the tailings dust and stuff and things. Here, just go. Do the thing. Die a horrible, horrible, horrible death. Which side? Am I going to scale this ever? No. This side. Whoops, that was completely wrong. I want a 1 space gap, thank you. Ooh. Inserters. Inserters! I need you to insert. Must insert things. There we go. Blueprint. Why do I build this way? You may wonder, why do I build this way? What this allows, if I can remember how to actually do this, somewhat. What this allows, because burning produces ash. Burning produces ash. So, by... Oh, right, I can't even build this properly, can I? What this allows is for the ash to void in the center, while the ones on the outside are actually voiding what I want to void. These, as they produce ash, will shove the ash into this central machine, this central burner, and if this produces ash from ash, it can feed itself back from this result back into the resource with this loader mechanism here. That's all that does. It does mean that I am not making full use of this one in the center. Realistically speaking, what I should do to make a lot better use of the burner resource is output onto another line with long-handed inserters and just have one on the end that is taking care of all of the wonderful ash, but I just like this because it's a repeatable unit, essentially. A nice little repeatable unit. Oh, hey, it's lights. It's lights. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I am not gonna say it. No, no. I will not say that thing. Oh, hey, it's coal. Here, have more coal. Stacked coal, for reference, has a fuel value equivalent to 5 units of coal. So I could use this just fine. It is not as efficient as using coke, because it's just the base fuel value of 4 times 5, and each one of these is 5 units of coal. In terms of fuel value, the coke would be better. But stacked coke doesn't have a fuel value, if I have any on me. The stacked coke does not retain the 5x fuel value. Sadly. Sadly, that is a thing. Okay, that just leaves the tar that needs to be processed. What are we gonna do with the tar? We're going to make syngas, ultimately, out of this tar to process the chromium, I think. I think that's what I want to do with it. Could make coal gas as well, feed it into this, but ultimately the permanent solutions for coal gas and syngas are actually going to be processing of this type of tar, mined tar, directly, and that will have its own builds and such. I'm going to need you gasifiers. And these gasifiers are going to be producing ash, so I am of course going to make use of the burners as well to process the ash. So we'll start with this. We need 15, 125-ish, 2, making the coal gas, and then 1. Now, granted, I could totally make syngas out of cellulose and oxygen. Just as an FYI, I could totally make syngas out of that, and it wouldn't even produce any ash. Especially at this point in the game where I don't need the cellulose from here. So if I really wanted just non-zero amounts of syngas, I could just do it that way. For reference, though, 1 per second of cellulose is 16 syngas, and you need oxygen, so you need to set up an electrolyzer making oxygen. These 3 make 0.15 cellulose from 1 wood. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. No. Just no. Don't do such a thing. That is a terrible, awful idea. I'm not looking forward to the sodium hydroxide, by the way, but I think that's going to be required. Yeah, that is going to be required, and this would be just again for reference. Raw fiber would be the way of getting cellulose. Fiber plus sodium hydroxide into cellulose in a pulp mill every 5 seconds. That would be the recipe to use for the cellulose. Until here, maybe this would be good, but just my initial glance at this is the raw fiber one is the winner here.